Actually, it's pronounced message. You have a very important message, not massage.
Oops, I'm sorry. Let me try this again. Residents of LumberJillville, it is your important message with a Queen Diva Marie.
You know what? It's fine. I'm sure I can splice together some takes and make a good one, so we're good.
What are you two idiots up to?
Oh, hey, Comer Alexa. Listen, we have this great idea. You know how the women's main event figures have become nearly impossible to get and super expensive?
Yeah.
And you know how LumberJillville has no connections, gets no publicity, and really gets no attention that would warrant Mattel sending us free things?
Also, yeah.
Queen Diva Marie is going to drop her brand new music video right before I review the brand new Liv Morgan Ultimate Edition, since that's who inspired her or us to make this music video. And I'm talking, once it's out there, the whole music world is going to take notice. MTV, VH1, BET, Blippy? Is Blippy like a kid's music station or something? I don't...
Yeah, that's not going to happen. So what's the end goal here?
See, Queen Diva Marie is going to take LumberJillville, and we are going to break through that glass ceiling that's been instilled on us. I mean, here's the ceiling, and we are just going to punch right through it. We are getting through that ceiling.
Please stop doing that.
Okay, ultimately, Steve Ozer, Bill McKenna, and Magic Mike, they're bound to take notice of LJV's success, and they're going to want a piece of it. So they're going to send us like free women's wrestling figures, maybe even the women's main event figures.
You mean Magic Omos?
No, I mean Magic Mike. Listen, she thinks he's a real person, and I don't have it in me to break her heart. I mean, just look at her. Look at her. Yeah, I think she meant famous Amos, like the cookie. I think that's what she meant.
You realize I was able to pre-order Blake Monroe's figure, so you don't need to do all this. It actually arrived today.
You did? Oh, whew. I thought we missed that 10-second pre-order window on Ringside. But that's okay. That's okay, because maybe after the music video drop, all future main event figures after Blake Monroe will just come flooding into the LumberJillville mailbox.
Of all your ideas, this one just might be the dumbest.
You know what they say, you are what you eat.
Yeah, okay, I'm not quite sure what she meant by that, but either way, let's take a break so I can review this brand new Blake Monroe figure because it is special to me. I cannot wait to take a look at it. And then we are going to resume greatness, and we are heading straight to the top. Oh! Hey y'all, welcome to LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here. Now before we get started with today's unboxing and review, I just want to remind you to please hit subscribe to become an official resident of LJV and get a first look at all future women's wrestling figures. Now I am so excited for today's figure review of Blake Monroe's debut Mattel WWE figure with Main Event Series 168. Now, I'm so excited for this figure for a couple different reasons, but a big one is I got to see Blake Monroe's in-ring debut for WWE at the Great American Bash last summer, and I got to go with my mom, my best friend, and it was truly a cool experience. She was never into wrestling, but when she moved out here, we really started watching it together, and she started understanding it a little bit more, and she knew that that was something that I enjoyed. You know, that was kind of my passion, is women's wrestling and supporting those strong, amazing women. And yeah, we got to go to our first show together, and it was really special. So seeing Blake debut in the main event was super, super cool. Now, that's not what this attire is from, but we'll get to that a little later on. Now, also images of this figure that we've seen like at Comic-Con and even prior to that, it didn't look the best, at least the likeness. So we'll definitely see how it looks when we have it in hand and we take a close look. So without further ado, let's start off taking a closer look at this packaging. So I've said this quite a bit before on this channel, and that's that I really do love the main event style packaging. Now, I have been a huge supporter of the main event women's figures as far as quality, likeness, just overall detail goes in 2026. We'll see how this one is, but they have done such an amazing job with this line this year. I just wish they were more easily available and made in higher quantities, obviously. But yeah, this packaging is real sharp. I love the image of the superstar where we can see the beautiful and talented Blake Monroe right there on the front. We have that first time in the line yellow streak that really stands out. We have the series number 168 in the corner. We have a nice open bubble where we can see the figure. Turning it around, she is classified as a grappler. Her signature move is the glamorous DDT, and then we have the rest of the line. So yeah, the main event packaging is very simple, but I think it's classy, and I like that the cardboard actually feels like cardboard, unlike the Elites, where that cardboard feels like tissue paper, right? So to open it up, you just peel off the bubble, and that's something I really like. It brings me back to when I'm a kid opening figures, so I really enjoy ripping this plastic bubble off of the card. Now let's get this figure out and take a closer look. So I'm really getting a kick out of this segment because this is her entrance. This is how she comes out, so this is totally fitting. Anyway, Mattel WWE Main Event Series 168, Blake Monroe. This attire is from the July 22nd, 2025 episode of NXT. On this night, Blake would pick up her first singles win with the company by defeating Ren Sinclair. Some overall first impressions of this figure, I'm going to be completely honest here, this figure looks so much better in hand. And what I'm talking about is that likeness, because the images we saw of this figure at Comic-Con and then previous to that, the WrestleMania figure reveals, that didn't look the greatest in my opinion, and I don't know if it was the angle or if it was the scan on that specific figure, but having it in front of me, I can tell you that I think it does look a lot better in hand. Now, it does look a bit generic, like you wonder if they even really scanned her face, because it does kind of have a generic type look, much like that Kiana James figure that came out. I think it looks a lot better in person, and we'll really look at it in the next segment and see how much it actually resembles her. But yeah, besides that, I think it's a beautiful figure. I do wish the attire had a metallic finish to it. It almost needed that, right? I mean, she's the Glamour. She doesn't just need a solid red color attire. So yeah, that's a little disappointing. I think if they would have added a metallic or a shiny or even a glossy paint to that red, it really would have stood out a lot more. But honestly, for a first time in the line figure, I'm actually pretty pleased by it. And at the end of the day, I'm just really grateful to have a Blake Monroe WWE figure right in front of me. I mean, I'm just smiling ear to ear. And even though it doesn't look like a perfect figure, it's Blake, y'all, and I'm really happy to have it. We will compare this figure to her AEW figures a little later. Now, that being said, let's take a closer look at that face sculpt, a face scan, and also that hair. So let's take an up-close look at that face, and let's look at that scan and sculpt that a lot of people were displeased with when we saw images at Comic-Con, at the WrestleMania reveals, and I was right there with them. However, I've said it before in the review, and I'm going to say it again, it looks so much better in person. Having it in front of me, I am pleased. It looks a lot better than those images. I think it looks beautiful. Now, I will admit that it does look a wee bit generic. I don't think it's a terrifying scan and sculpt. I don't think it's terrible by any means. I noticed that a lot of her unique facial features, like she has a really unique shaped nose, and they really didn't capture that in the sculpt here. Also, looking at this figure from like a 45-degree angle, it looks weird. It looks nothing like Blake when you look at it from an angle. But when you look at it straight on, I can kind of see the resemblance in there trying to peek through somehow. It's definitely off a little bit with the likeness, but it is her first figure. And it's not just the women whose first figures sometimes don't capture the likeness. I mean, look at Obafemi's first Elite. That really does not look like Oba. So I don't know. I think he gets a pass on this figure because I think it's good enough for a first figure. I think you can tell who it is, even though the likeness isn't spot on. It's still a beautiful looking face scan and sculpt. I also really love the scanning on this. What I mean by that is I love the lip color. There's a lot of detail there. I love how the mouth is slightly open. You can see those white teeth. I love the eyebrows. I love the eyelashes. You can see how those were printed on really cleanly. And I think the eyes look really good. So I'm telling you, I'm looking at it right now, looking over my camera, and I don't think it looks like her. I think it looks generic. But then looking at it straight on through my camera, I can totally see Blake. So I don't know. I'm going to leave it up to y'all in the comments to let me know what you think, because I'm kind of right in the middle on it. I definitely think it's a little bit off, but I don't think it's all that bad, y'all. Now, other than that, we have the cheese hair. So Mattel with their women's wrestling figures, more often than not, when they have blonde hair, they just give them yellow hair and call it a day. And this one's no different. But I really do like the sculpt. I love the curls going over her shoulder, going around the back. We have some really beautiful curls sculpted on there. But yeah, I wish we did have some color added to the roots, maybe some highlights, some streaks, something to make it look more real or authentic. Now, we did see a lot of women's wrestling figures at Comic-Con that appear to have detail in the hair color. So hopefully that becomes a thing in the future of women's wrestling figures. But yeah, for Blake here, she's got the cheese hair. She got that cheese hair. But yeah, so I'm kind of in the middle on the scan and sculpt. I definitely think it could be better, but I think it looks so much better in person. Now let's move on to the body sculpt in the attire. So moving on down, I think they did an excellent job with the part choices on this Blake, and also there's a lot of unique sculpting here, and we're starting to see that again in women's main event figures like we used to in the early basic women's figures, where we're seeing some unique sculpting, some unique body parts on these women's figures, making them feel more authentic, and this one's no different. There's a lot of unique sculpting we'll cover in just one moment. Now, as I mentioned, the part choice is really good. They did an excellent job capturing her physique. I really love that she does have a slight tan. Now, my biggest complaint with the attire itself is it has no glittery, shiny, even glossy paint applied to it. And that's a letdown. If you look at the attire, what it actually looked like, and her whole character being glamorous, you know, wearing just a solid red attire isn't exactly something that goes with her character or what she wore. So yeah, I do wish there was more detail in that red. I would think that would have been really fun to have that be a metallic paint. But either way, let's take an up-close look. As I mentioned, that top is a unique sculpt. Even that midsection there, it's all one piece. Now that top has a lot of uniquely sculpted attention to detail here. Even those little like rhinestone, the studs are sculpted on that top. Unique shape. We have a unique chest sculpt. Even the little connector there in the middle, that's very signature her. This is very signature Blake Monroe or Mariah May attire, I will say, and I think it turned out great. I love that that strap is sculpted around the midsection. Now here's something you won't see in pictures that I loved. You move it around and look, we have like a bow sculpted on, and I believe it's glued in place. Yeah, I think it's glued in place, or there might be a peg hole. I really don't want to pry it too much, but look how beautiful that is. We have like a sculpted bow in the back of her attire, and that's definitely a cool extra detail that shows, and I've said this, that they have been putting so much love into these women's main event figures that it's been a blast reviewing these, honestly. And it's little things like that that make it feel like they're getting the attention and love they deserve in this line, right? Love it. Now, looking at some of the other attire, she has these arm sleeves just painted on, going up through her hands. And what's really cool, she has this little armband here that is removable. It's like a separate piece, but it's sculpted beautifully with a bow in the middle. And we have some studs sculpted on there, painted a metallic silver. And it is important to note that the studs on here are painted in like a metallic type paint finish. So that's nice. If we're not going to have metallic on the red, at least we do have that kind of standing out and shining. Moving on down to her bottoms that are just painted on, but they're painted on with red with that silver accent stud pattern, and then the belt going around there. We have these thigh straps painted on once again with little silver studs painted throughout that wrap around. We have these knee pads. I love these knee pads. It's like that rubber plastic technology that came out a few years ago. Ronda Rousey came out with an Elite in that, and sometimes they use this for knee pads. I actually really like it. I'm actually impressed that this matched the shade of red pretty well. I am colorblind, so let me know if I'm completely off base, but I feel like this red matches the boots and the rest of the figure really well. And that says a lot because this being a completely different material, it'd probably be easy for these two tones to kind of clash. So I think the red looks really good together. I love her red boots and kick pads with the white underneath showing through there. So yeah, I think the body sculpt is beautifully done. I think the part choices are excellent. And I do think the attire is gorgeous. I just really wish it had a metallic finish or even a glossy finish, something to make it look, I don't know, more glamorous. So let's do a little fun comparison between all her figures released at the time of this video. So Blake was previously known as Mariah May in AEW. She had 2 figures released, both in AEW Unrivaled Series 18. We have the standard in the middle, the chase on the left, and then we have today, her first in the line WWE figure. And I'm cracking up, actually. It took me a couple takes because I was giggling. Because looking at these 3 figures next to each other, like today's Blake looks like Cinderella, and her Mariah May figures look like the Wicked Stepsisters. Like, Blake's trying to go to the dance. She's trying to have fun and then leave in a pumpkin carriage. And these two are just mean. They're just mean, Wicked Stepsisters, right? That's how they look. And, whew, it is something to look at. And I'm kind of feeling dumb because when I reviewed these Blake Monroes, I believe in the reviews, I said that, hey, the faces up close look a lot better in hand. But looking at them right now, they look pretty terrible, don't they? I think most people thought that to begin with, and I wish I would have. But yeah, so I think all 3, their likeness is definitely off. Definitely don't look a whole lot like Blake, but I think today's probably does the best job. And even if it doesn't really look that much like her, at least it's a beautiful scan and sculpt. Whereas these two are kind of a disaster, right? Now, this chase figure on the left and the standard in the middle, I mean, I think they're really cool figures. I love that Jazzwares and AEW, they tend to give a lot of effort in unique sculpts and part choices for their women's wrestling figures. Really makes them feel special. And these two are no exception. I mean, they really did an excellent job here. Looking at the standard, she does come with that title. But look, she's got these little sculpted furry shoulder pads, this armband, and this little handkerchief kind of hanging off there. And then we have that face. And I just want to look at it up close to see if my thoughts have changed. Yeah, no. It's not a good face. Not a good face. I don't know if I said anything positive about this. I'm pretty sure I did, but I take it back. Take it back. All right, so moving on to the chase here. I really love the attire. It's just simple. It's all white. But look, she's got little sparkles throughout. I love that little belt in her midsection, how it's got like that fastener sculpted on there. I think it's a really cool chase, but once again, let's look at that face. Woof. Woof. I'm pretty sure I defended this in my review, but I'm going to be honest here. It does not do it. It does not do it. Now, looking at those faces next to each other, like, yeah, I mean, they both definitely are lacking capturing that likeness to Blake. But at least today's is a beautiful face scan and sculpt. Even if it looks a little generic, I think it's a lot closer than the AEW figures. Also, the AEW ones kind of tower over her, which, let me go grab a figure and let's see how scale kind of lines up. So real quick, I wanted to bring in a JC Jane's basic figure, her first in line figure. She does have an elite coming out, but this is her basic that came out in 2023. It was series 138. And the reason I wanted to compare it to today's main event Blake is because when I went to the Great American Bash and saw Blake's in-ring debut, she faced off against JC. It was her and Jordan Grace versus JC and Fallon of Fatal Influence. So I wanted to see how these two look next to each other. And I think they look pretty good. So JC's billed at 5'6". Blake is billed at 5'8". And to me, close enough. I think they look good together. So she's not completely oversized. She's not completely undersized. I think she's right where you want her to be now. I really hope she does get an elite because I would love to display a Blake figure with a Jordan Grace figure because that was the tag team that I saw in the main event on her in-ring debut. So yeah, I think these two look good together, but either way, she's scaled nicely. As far as articulation goes, the head doesn't move all that well. We kind of circle it around. She can look right and look left, but her movement is inhibited a little bit by that hair sculpt going over both shoulders, also down the back. The shoulders on a ball joint can move in all different directions. We have a single jointed elbow that can bend about 90 degrees. We have wrists that can flex down, extend up, and also rotate in a circle, and they are swappable with other hands. We have a waist swivel. We have hips on a ball joint that have really good motion there. The knees are single jointed. I have stopped trying to bend the knees on my women's main event figures because I had a Katana Chance break once. So if you're going to display her with her knees bent or something, I would heat them up first just to be safe. Now, also, she has a upper boot swivel. Now, the one thing about the articulation that is a little disappointing is you really can't put her finger like seductively in her mouth like she poses. Like, that is unfortunate. If she had double jointed elbows, we're in business, you can really pose her. So you almost have to trick the camera here and position it in front. Yeah, okay, I'm going to take the thumbnail pic right now while I have an idea. But yeah, for a main event figure, it's kind of what you expect for articulation, but so overall, I give WWE Main Event Series 168 Blake Monroe and her debut WWE figure an overall score of a 7.5 out of 10. Now, I am so conflicted by this figure because on one hand, I was ecstatic when they announced that she was getting a figure in the Mattel line. And a big part of that, as I mentioned, is my mom and I got to see her in-ring debut at the Great American Bash. It was a real good bonding moment between her and I. And yeah, I just have a special place in my heart for Blake. Now, with that sentiment aside, this is not a perfect figure by any means. There's definitely good, but there's definitely some bad. So the good, I think for a first time in the line figure, there's turned out pretty good. I think the sculpt of the hair, I think the body part choices, and the unique sculpting of her top is all excellent. I love the little silver metallic details that were painted throughout her attire. And you could tell, especially with the sculpt of this bow on the back, that they did put love into this figure. And it's important to note that they have a very strict budget in the main event line. So the fact that they go the extra mile to give that unique sculpting like that bow on her back is tremendous. It's why I've loved the main event line this year is they're really like showing their passion for women in this line. I love it. Now, the bad. Okay. Staying with the attire, it's just a solid red color for the base color. That's disappointing. She is the Glamour. This needs glammed up. We need metallic or a gloss or a shiny finish on the paint for that red for it to really stand out. So that's an issue I had. And also that face, y'all. I've been all over the place with this face today. I've said it before that it looks a lot better in person, but it's definitely off. It's definitely a little bit off. And I think what it comes down to is it is a little generic. It's really missing some unique facial sculpt features that Blake has in real life, and I think that's why it throws it off a little bit. Now, I look at it at some angles and I'm like, oh yeah, that looks like Blake, but then some angles, it looks nothing like her. So I'm just going to say that it looks generic to me. So hopefully we do see an improved Blake released in an elite line that has a unique sculpt and scan of her face. Also glammed and glittered up attire would be excellent. But like I said, for her first time in the line figure, I think this is a pretty solid one. And that's why I gave it a solid score of a 7.5. Thanks for stopping by LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here. To get a first look at all future women's wrestling figure reviews, make sure to hit subscribe and become an official resident of LJV today. Let me know in the comments what you thought of today's Blake Monroe figure. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great night, y'all.